Definitely roll with it. Yeah, you can see. So you got LCA. Like this Nikola is. Ideally, the play of Nikola today would have been the red to green. It's gapping up like 8%. We're almost back into resistance on this, so I'm a little bit more wary of Nikola. If you think about it, like the move start at 40, it's at 60. You're back into the sweet spot. I'm not thinking necessarily short because it's only been one day of momentum. But I do think like we're kind of coming back into some resistance spots. It's not going to be an easy thing where, man, it's not going to be an easy one, that's for sure. Yeah. So let's just take a quick look at the kind of the QQQs here real quick. Take a look at the general market. If you see here, we're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of 8 days we've been green in the market. We are getting a little bit extended. The intraday dips though are getting bought, and they're getting bought fast, which is telling you like, okay, on the big picture basis, yeah, we're a little bit extended, but the strength is incredible. You know, you'll see like this kind of price action. You know, yesterday the market was like hanging out, and then it just kind of kerplunked for a hot second where you're like, okay, maybe we'll get a little bit of volatility. Next thing you know, like you just hit the previous day's low, and you really ramped right back. And so what that's telling you is that the price action is not yet giving us a signal that the market itself is anything more than a 10 to 20 to 30 minute dip. We're just not getting anything more than that. Now we are fading off a little bit like every day, but they're just not lasting that long. So you can't marry anything on the short side. Now the good thing is in a hot market, a bull market, you get just as many. You get probably more shorts to play than even in a bear market due to things being so extended. So I think this is a gap and grind market. So it's all systems as a go. Two things I always do: you got to hold a couple swings, a couple overnighters. It will help kind of take the pain off waking up and seeing the market gap every day. And then the other side of things, the day trading environment is still really positive. Let's go into just a couple. Let's go into all the gappers we got today. There's a million of them. Man, you know what? I forgot to play this tiger yesterday. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so you're starting to see a couple things. This LCA is showing up over here. This is a SPAC. SPACs have been down the last couple days. You saw a deep pullback in a lot of them. You have enough of a range on them, enough of a pullback on them to the downside, where a lot of these are looking bouncy. I would keep this one. You're going to see probably Graph. Graph is sitting here on support too, right on the 9 EMA. I think that this FMCI is another one that's getting ready to go. A lot of these is pulled back into support, and they're starting to round these, and then they're all looking like potential movers, especially with Nikola going yesterday. I think probably the cleanest chart out of the group is Shill. You went from 10 to 36. You pulled back into the 9 EMA. You got a green candle to hold yesterday, so you have a confirmation, right, that the level is holding. Now, the gap on this is 6%. It's a thin little noodle at times. So what you want to make sure to do is, like, if you play this one, the chart is red hot, but due to the way the spread is on it, you got to kind of hit this thing on pullbacks if you can, or a picture clean ORB. If you don't have like a picture perfect ORB or something really clean, it's going to act a little bit tricky, and the bottom drops off on this really fast. So you got to like always be just a little bit prepared on this thing. Yeah, you can see this lemonade's gapping up too, but this is right on support. The gap's filled here. You're back on support. Now it's up like 6%. So you got to wait for a pullback on this. If you start you start heeing and hawing on this thing, where that 4 points, we needed that 4 points. I think this one's on watch for a bounce. You can see here, like, let's go to 15-minute chart. Right, you've come right back into the support, and you're starting to round. So when you're looking at like support plays, you always want to figure out, okay, what are the levels that are holding? What are the spots that are reacting to? Like, for example, say you're using a moving average or some price support. Just because you have a moving average or price support there doesn't mean you necessarily buy something there. What you always want to be checking on your stocks to see is, okay, if you have something there, is it reacting to it? Like, is it acting like it actually exists? You can start to see like this 70 spot starting to hold. You're starting to kind of curl your way back higher. So we'll see how this one acts. Now, the issue with Lemonade, the big hairy butt of this one is the spread on this is just joker sometimes. You know, it could be like 50 cents, 60 cents. Sometimes it goes to $1. Sometimes it goes to $2. Yeah, it can really act crazy. So you got to trade this a little bit smaller. Like if you were normally going to do, say, 500 shares of something, on something like this, you would probably trade 200 shares of it and, you know, scale accordingly. As when you do your kind of risk calculations or your risk parameters, you have to take into account not just the spread, but also the bid dropping off and just getting you kind of smoked out. I like the upside on this one. It is up 6%. Let's wait for a pullback. And that pullback, like it may come sharp. It'll hold at an EMA, and then, you know, you'll start to go. But yeah, this is top of the list for today. I wish it didn't, you know, I wish it wouldn't be cruising up like this right now. But it is Six Flags, junk. You already see FMCI. We talked about that one. Yeah, a lot of people have been asking me about this NIO. You know, the shred on this was amazing yesterday in terms of, you know, the rollover. So you had the big kind of, it was a huge rollover, but $3 on a, you know, $15 name is still pretty good. Now you're kind of mid-range on this. I'm still leaning towards this thing's got to probably pull back for a few days. No stock goes up forever, you know, and you're still a little bit long in the tooth. I'm still thinking, you know, kind of short on, you know, pops till this thing fizzles out for a little bit, maybe down back into this range, fill some of these gaps. I think you'll be good. So no long on this for me, unless you get like some big kind of parabolic push down. Then you can start to leave it alone. Otherwise, no play on that one. Now let's go into kind of like the regular watch list. NVAX has had, this will be like day 3 of it consolidating. If it can keep holding this 95 spot, I think that we're going to have probably a squeeze on this one. You know, it's digested that move. You know, I had a contract news for like, you know, $1.5 billion or whatever. It's digested that news. We'll see how it reacts and builds. Right now, we're just stuck inside a range. As this bad boy starts to tighten up and you start to really marinate and you build up that marination station, you start to see this thing make its way back. 2 days of consolidations, usually 2-3 days of consolidation, you usually be good to go on something like that. I'd keep that on the list for now. Good. Let's go into the favorites for today. I think Roku's right at a sweet spot. You've got yourself 135.80 trigger. This one could go right out of the gate. You know, this one could go right out of the gate. My only worry on this one is that, you know, your 9 EMA is still like $6 away. You have been testing this level for quite some time, but frankly, yesterday, if it had just pulled down a little bit, that would have gave it a lot better RR on this thing, or not RR, but probability on this thing of it holding. Now, the one thing is that this market is just so strong. If it does take out this level, you know, they turn the algos on. Hey, Shez, how you been? And where you been, by the way? They turn the algos on these stocks like real quick, especially at the open. If you're noticing, like, do you ever notice, like, when you have like key, like range breaks, it'll just get pumped that first candle, like right out of the gate, and you might get like a $4, $5, $6 candle, and then it'll die off, but you'll get like this awesome, you know, like 6-minute boner. And that's, you know, all you can ask for sometimes. You know, if you're like more of a systematic trader and you want like more probabilities, you know, ideally you let it break and then start to like marinate, start to consolidate over the breakout spot, that will give you the higher probability trade. As you know, we trade fast, so I'm going to take the opening shred, I'm going to hit the pullback, and I'm going to hit the marination station because that's just what we do. That's what we do. It's a good one here. That's top of the list. Next one, JNUG for potential short, only on strength, or if it kind of can't hold over this 136. Warm up some water. We'll get a little cafe going. 131. Yeah, this one, we'll see how it reacts around this resistance spot. It could fade off today, or we need one more push. But today's the day it probably fades off. You're $14 away from your 9 EMA. Top of the Bollinger Band. You're getting pretty extended on this one. I think this one's going to be a short. Now, long term, I think this one's got a lot of juice on it. Gold has been hot all year. So when I say like, okay, I'm going to look at something for a short, right? We don't marry these things. This just happens to be something that we're going to take for a quick trade. Good. JNUG, Roku, those are top of the list. This RH, to me, this RH actually looks like a swing trade. This one's pretty good. If you look at like an hourly chart here, you're setting up a really, really nice level here that's going back from June 1st. You got one test of resistance, 2, 3, 4, right around that kind of 268, 270 mark. If this thing busts out of this zone, you're going to see probably an MPC candle. It's not e-liquid per se. Well, it is e-liquid. It does 1 million shares in volume. There's a spread on it though. When it goes, it can move like $13, $14. It's more an issue of liquidity. For me, like when I see a hot chart like this, but it's got like a big spread, I usually would rather just swing trade like a couple hundred shares of it and try to catch like 20, 30 points versus trying to day trade, 500 shares of it and trade around that spread. It just gets really, really tricky. I like this one, but I think that this one is a swing. And like I said, this is a market where you need to usually, we're day trading and shredding all day, but it pays to hold a couple swings usually overnight because you get all these stocks that have like really nice charts, they just end up gapping up 5, 10, 15%. Rather than chasing that up, it's nice to just have a couple things going on. Does that make sense? Good. OSTK on watch for a day 2 play. We caught a good shred on this yesterday on the green to red for some points. And you know what? It was actually, getting faded off on strength all day. I think this one's got one more day, 1 or 2 more days of fade. You're still got a lot of ways to pull back. When you're trying to time a stock that's like, a rubber band short, usually that second day is a cleaner short than the first day. So what I mean by that is, say you've got a stock that's going parabolic, right? You've got a stock that's like going parabolic, and you're trying to like time the top of it. It's always tricky trying to time the top that first day of the dump. What happens is the second day after a big dump in a stock, that second day usually moves more clean when you're trying to short. Why? Now it's in everybody's head, like this stock can roll over, that the trend may be in jeopardy. And now like you don't have everybody, right, trying to time the top, so it tends to move a little bit more linear the second day. So like something like a NIO or OSTK. Both of these have some good, potential downside on them. And they're the second days. I think that, we'll be able to come in and shred those pretty good. Hey, Brandon, what's up, baby? Good to see you. Good. Oh, everybody's asked about mRNA. Let me take a look. So I got the problem. There's 2 problems with mRNA. Number one, it just stinks to trade lately. Why does it stink to trade? When you think about like what causes momentum, like when moving averages, indicators, like different things work, it's when you're in a trend. So let me go to like a daily chart of this mRNA. When you're in a trending environment, so like say this stock is going from 15 to 90. When you're in the trending environment, all the patterns will work out because you're in a trend. So like your 9 EMA, everything is riding up. And so now like all the dips are getting bought. When you have a big trend, short-term price corrections tend to resolve themselves in the direction of that primary trend. But what happens is when a stock gets stuck in a range, what you start to see how like your moving averages start to flatten out and they crisscross around? What that's telling you is there's indecision in the trend. So then what happens is anytime it looks good, it comes down. And anytime it looks bad, it goes up. And then it looks bad, it goes up, and it's like a bizarre world. There is a no rhyme or reason when you have absence of trend. So this stock is just stuck in a big range. So like you get a couple days they go up, couple days they go down, but there's no edge to it. So that's why mRNA, even though it's like, it's marinating, it's not going to act like it did in these days because these days it was trending. Does that make sense? So in a hot market where you have so many stocks moving around, we don't need to be trading mRNA because you have 8,000 stocks, like 7,500 of them are trending to the upside. So why find the one penis in between us that's just sitting in the middle? That's kind of how I look at it. And you're also far from a range break too. It's probably going to take a piece of news to get this thing out of this kind of. It's going to take probably a piece of news to get it out of that range. DraftKings. So DraftKings is, if anybody's noticed, DraftKings also has been trading like crap lately. Why? You were in a big uptrend. See how like you're just riding up your 9 EMA? It's a 9. We call that a 9 EMA D rider. You guys know what that means, right? You got a 9 EMA D rider coming. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with me. So now this thing, all the dips are getting bought because you're in the trend. These are the type of stocks you want to focus on in the trend. What happens, like usually when the trend starts to get in jeopardy, it starts to act a little bit more funky. It starts to act a little bit. It starts to sell off. Every bounce gets faded. It acts a little bit weird. Now, it is at a support spot, but you have to be mindful that the overall, this primary trend has ended. Now, will it start trending again, or is it going to be stuck in a range? It's much cheaper. It is on some support. So like if you're like doing more of like a swing trade, a swing trade you can do off a support. But when you're day trading, it's easier to trade something with, that's in the trend. Now it could start trending. You see your 9 EMA starting to flatten out here. If it starts to curl its way higher, then that's telling you, at least on a short-term basis, that you're starting to speed up. Does that make sense? Good. A couple things. This BABA. Everybody's been asked about this BABA. I think this one is probably looks like an exhaustion gap to me. One more big move on this. I think probably it's a short. Long term, this thing looks amazing, but you can't. Short term, you just can't. Long term, it looks amazing, but short term, you can't really buy it. You got to wait for this thing to pull back. It's just too long in the tooth right now. Facebook, Marco, are these, to me, this is like a grinder. Look, if we're in the business of trading hot heat, this is like, it's a semi-boner. It's a semi. Twitter's another one, like up too many days in a row. It's a strong stock, but the move is already gone. Does that make sense? Cool. Yeah, let's focus in. We got Roku. You know, there's a couple of these that are setting up for little swings too, like this Razzie and stuff. These are okay. But I think Roku, JNUG, these are our priorities, along with Roku, JNUG, these are priorities, along with Shill. Keep that Shill on watch. Watch that first dip and then Lemonade. All right? Man, Penn's been acting like crap. I do like that name, kind of more on a long-term basis. It's going to need to break out over these EMAs before it sets up, but it is on some support. Good. Let's make quick work out of this like yesterday. No, actually, yesterday we didn't make quick work out of it, did we? All the money we made was in the morning, and then we goofed around all day. Till that JNUG hit in the end of the day. Cool. Let's go do what we do. Let's have a little fun. All right, rock and roll.